Good morning, good afternoon, LinkedIn friends, Value First Nation. Happy Monday. Here with another episode of Value First Measurement with Danielle Urban. How you doing, Danielle?
Doing well today. How are you?
I am doing all right. Uh, it can be challenging when you run into that AI wall sometimes, and you're used to, relying on it for all this creation and new stuff that we're doing. Um, and I think this story is indicative of the measurement problem that we're trying to solve. So I'm going to share it.
All right.
When I was creating this framework, originally all of the manifestos had 10 principles, right? And I think last week I even said, it was the last one
Right.
because all of the principles or all of the manifestos have 7. Because there was a moment where I was just like, hey, Claude, look at the whole thing and find redundancy and try to make it concise. And he ended up going down to 7. And so I started to template it. And I'm like, all right, let's create the content around that concept. But for some reason, he landed on 8 with measurement. And that was the only one.
Special.
And
Claude.
today, and obviously this is a don't try this at home. I'm only getting away with this right now because this concept of value first is like so anti-status quo. Like it's pretty easy to create engaging content without trying all the usual tactics without as much hands-on because it's so novel.
Mhm.
Right? But obviously I've iterated a few too many times and I'm having trouble finding like what this 8th one was, like based on where all the places. This would usually be a conversation with Claude that I'm trying to nail down exactly what it is, and ran into the wall, the limit today that doesn't open up for another hour and a half. So I go over to Breeze Assistant, where it also has some information, and I trusted it to give me the correct number 8, and it was very convincing. And as I try to pull it up on the website, like I usually do, not seeing that number 8, seeing a different number 8. But I was already going to share the fact that Claude could not get down to 7. It had to go to 8. And now I'm at like, all right, we're going back to 10 because this measurement problem is so pervasive and so nuanced, right? There's so many different ways you can slice it. And Danielle and I were talking before, like it does feel like we're saying the same things over and over, but the words that we're using are a little bit different, and we always have a brand new example, right? Because for this one, when I saw this as principle 8, and then I looked at my inbox to confirm that Danielle was going to be here today, I saw email number 8 from our friend Piper, who's been doing some very diligent follow-up after inbound. A Piper AI, I think it's an SDR, something like
I saw those billboards. Yeah.
that, right? Like number 8. And that's what we're talking about when we say don't add pressure, because I guarantee that's coming from this place of, best practices 10 to like 58 touches after an event. So we're just going to run the playbook. Otherwise, I have not touched these emails.
Yeah.
Like, so why are you sending me number 8? If not just to say like, oh, the number's ticking up, like maybe I need to do something, right? So that's my example for today. What comes to mind when you think of this principle or commitment to remove barriers and instead of adding pressure?
I have my own example that popped up this morning. Not as tactical, but I love the Marketunist. I've followed their stuff for years now. And the comic that he posted this morning was long-term branding versus last touch attribution. And it's literally passing the baton of a relay to last touch attribution, last click attribution. And I reposted it on my LinkedIn page because I was like, I hate attribution. I hate trying to measure something that is an aggregate of an entire experience and journey to one thing, or even pretend like we can assign credit to one thing. And so I always say I hate attribution conversations because it's like, I have to describe why it's ambiguous when you think it's very straightforward, you being theoretical client in a lot of cases. I have to now open your mind to the ambiguity that is attribution, and then ask you to reframe your reference and pick a new model based on what I just taught you about the reality of attribution. And nobody wants to change their mind. Nobody wants to change all of their reporting to something different, especially when I'm like, it kind of doesn't matter because you can't measure all of it anyway. Like, now pick something different. And so it's really difficult to get people to talk about attribution. That's why I always say I hate attribution. I do not want to do attribution projects because it is applying science to art, basically. And sometimes it works, and sometimes you can get insights and something really cool out of it. But a lot of times it's just wrongly attributing credit in places where it's just not worth trying to make sense of it. And that's exactly what today's Marketunist was. I was like, wow, they're reading my mind.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to avoid. I mean, I really want to dig into Christopher Penn's latest LinkedIn algorithm guide, because there's something I've been feeling for months, but really understanding that LinkedIn metrics aren't great, like since I started doing content like last year. Now it's not even an algorithm anymore. It's just a set of AIs like working together to basically understand the vibe of the LinkedIn situation and try to hit context relevancy and timing for every individual user. And if that's the case, they're not like, this is beyond metrics at this point. And there's no reason to expect them to try and make the metrics better, like for us, because that doesn't necessarily make the feed better. It doesn't make the LinkedIn experience better. And I would imagine, like, this is where you just trust the platform that has like over 1 billion, users on it and is a part of Microsoft. And like, they probably have data. They probably, on some level, start connecting it to ad revenue in ways that we can't even, fathom. And it's like, okay, you can ask me what the reach is of our last episode based on the numbers I see, but that almost never matches with, the feedback that we get in person from people, right? And it's like, at which point do we just accept the fact that we're not going to be able to measure? And that's what we're talking about from removing barriers. I think in this case is that internal KPI mechanism, right? George and I are thinking about doing like a Value-First Humans, series. And we were going back and forth over the weekend, and I was explaining how I thought about the difference between Superhuman Framework and Value-First Humans. And the reason for Value-First is that we went through the Superhuman Framework, and I'm like, man, this is another great playbook for how to be human with other humans, right? And the problem that I couldn't get past is that if your KPI is MQL volume, you can't be a value-first human. Like,
and your leads are not humans. Your leads are just numbers. They're email addresses. They're not human.
Right. Like, you're literally put in a situation where you have to do things that cause you not to be a value-first human, which is like all these internal metrics and barriers that we put up to say, man, I see this working on LinkedIn, but I don't know how I'm going to measure it, which means I can't make the case for doing it internally, which means we can't create value in that way, right? So got to do something else, like gate another ebook, or send out another email blast, or set up Piper to send out all these emails, and then we'll get really good at measuring them, even though it's completely missing like the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I pulled up Christopher S. Penn's Trust Insights LinkedIn algorithm guide because I'd seen it and I remember sort of hearing some rumblings about it, but I haven't read it yet. One of my favorite things about it, though, is he loaded it all into a notebook LM. So you can actually just go have a conversation with it, which makes a lot of sense considering the three pillars that he's outlined, or that I think he had a few collaborators on this, that they all outlined together. And just to read a quick little excerpt and get us on the same page, to truly understand how to work with this new system, you can't just look at the engine, you have to understand the entire assembly line. The modern LinkedIn AI is built on three foundational pillars, a life cycle that can be understood as build, think, and run. The factory is the sophisticated high-speed manufacturing plant where the AI models are built, trained, and continuously improved. The engine, the powerful centralized reasoning engine that once built does the thinking, analyzing your profile, content, and interactions to make decisions. And then the operating system, the high performance infrastructure that runs the engine at a global scale, serving real-time predictions to over 1 billion members. So that's crazy. Like, that's very cool. But also it makes me think that like LinkedIn used to just be one in a checklist of distribution platforms, that like if I, as a little baby marketer, was going to go run a webinar, we were going to post to Twitter every day, we were going to post to the Reddit group or the whatever, I forget which platforms we were using at that point, but the social groups and forums, and then we were going to post to LinkedIn a couple times from our company page, and you just did the thing. It was just a checklist. And now each of these platforms have a life of their own, have a context and culture that's a life of their own. And you kind of have to play the game and know what you're up against, but it's not even a game anymore. Like, you're just existing in a different world. And so the metrics don't matter. And almost, I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see date stamps disappear, because if we're serving up content that's relevant, everyone keeps joking about how you'll see content 3 weeks later. Well, if it's a series of AI agents that are deciding what content is relevant to you and to what you're interacting with, then yeah, the fact that it was posted 3 weeks ago probably doesn't matter. And maybe we'll get some options on like, is this date relevant or not? But generally, yeah, we're all just pumping out content and the robots are deciding if it's important to us or not.
Yeah. And again, there's probably data, like the same way that we build our profiles on LinkedIn, where we feature stuff that's likely evergreen. And you get those random likes and comments on the thing that was from 6 months ago. And you're like, man, how did they get to that? Right. And you get all excited, but then you remember it's like featured on the profile. But that's kind of the point, right? Like, if you're doing your profile right, and it's like a personal website, for you and your personal brand, maybe like an extension of your business.
Yeah.
That's a natural path that people are taking. And the fact that the saved button is now mattering more, right? Something that there's no visibility, like for the users, and how often that's happening, right? We can't see comments and likes and then saves, at least not yet.
Yeah.
Right? That's completely, but it's a highly like engaged contextual like response to a post, right? So of course AI should be like taking that into consideration. And it's just we talk about this paradigm shift, right? And it can be easy to say remove barriers, like, oh, ungate content, like, and just focus on that part. But so much of this is internal. Like, if you can't, I'm starting to tell people right now, like, we were talking about loop marketing last week, and George said this morning, like, he has struggled to find good content, like, about that playbook.
Which is really funny.
And I shared with him, I was like, if I am talking to somebody about that and they know who George is, I just say, just George has been doing it for 12 years. Just watch what he does. That's loop marketing. Like, just go do that, right? Like, anything we can do to say, like, anybody who's been showing up as a human in this way, like, that's what it is at the heart of it. And almost none of your metrics, none of your KPIs, like, support that execution.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I have so many thoughts. I'm figuring out where to start. I went to George's session at Inbound, or one of them, and he showcased his conversation bot, where you could like call it and have a conversation with AI George. And that kind of stuff, you don't measure impact with that. Like, maybe you could even see how many visitors, but I don't even think we have visibility to that. But the fact that he's just creating helpful content, I've said this 100 times, like, to be a good marketer, you just have to be helpful. He's feeding all of the content that he's creating in other contexts that is also just generally helpful, and pushing it into this new tool so that George can improve his skills and learn something new, and so that the rest of the world benefits from the kinds of information that is out there. It's now in a differently accessed format, and it's just cool. Like, it's just fun to play with. But the KPI, I can guarantee you, George does not care how many people call that number, interact with that bot. It's just cool. And we saw some of the stuff he was working on last year too, with the like updates podcast that he was doing completely through AI bots and agents. Very cool stuff. I love what George is doing all the time, but that's another story for another day. But it all comes back to, like, just be helpful. And if you're removing the barriers of having to define KPIs or measure specific things when you do a specific action, then you just win. Like, I don't know how else to say this. You just are able to do something different and show up in a different way that's memorable. Or anybody in your organization gets to show up in a different way that's memorable. Maybe they're going to go build an AI helpline. Like, who knows? When you just let people go nuts, do their own thing, and not have to fight for that budget or those resources, you just get a lot more creativity that's actually more impactful.
Yeah. And there's actually a use case or a case study on the Delphi website now for his AI clone that he created. And the thing is, like, the value loop there, like, I don't know if I think this is clickbaity or what, but I want the intention of loop marketing, like, is real. Like, and if we can deliver it in a way that's not based on old KPIs, like, it will be really powerful. Because what's happening with this, again, it's like a new version of owned marketing channel, right? This clone, because he sees all of the questions being asked, and he can see when the clone can't answer it. And if anybody knows George, it's highly likely that he immediately creates an article like based on that. And that's the evolved part of the loop marketing playbook, right? Like, you react immediately to the signal. And when you create this, and I haven't even been thinking about it in this way, but this new owned channel, which has got to be like, you're just giving value. Like, it took a lot of work for him, to create this, but now he's scaled himself a little bit, right? And it's so powerful. And you're never going to get there if you need to measure, like, number of chats or, resolution rate.
Or how many people come to your demo page based on interacting with that and using it as a source. Yeah.
Right. Because it's likely not trying to convert you at all, or people won't use it because that's not what AI is designed to do.
Right.
It's trying to solve it right there.
That long-term branding of George B. Thomas, you are literally interacting with a a brand that happens to also be a human because he set it up that way. But now you've got that positive association with a brand, and it always comes back around.
Yeah. And the mathematics of one, as long as one person gets value,
Yeah.
right, then it's worth it. And that kind of mindset just will not fly in the KPI measurement system,
Right.
like of old. But it's like, it allows you to say, like, like this Piper email sequence, for example. Like if somebody was about to press play on that, or while they were setting it up, could they answer honestly the questions, will this build trust? Will this add value? Like the answer to those questions are no, like easily. The only reason you do it is because some KPI or some best practice mechanism is telling you to do it, related to pressure, related to fear of missing out, fake urgency, like all these other mechanisms that are in play, that now the humans, we get to put AI layers up and be like, that's not real value coming through. It's not even going to make it to us. Like, did you see the email update last week?
I heard rumblings. I haven't read into it yet.
Right. So now, like, Gmail, again, how owned is your email channel, that like when Gmail can say, all right, if it's not relevant enough, you're not going to be at the top of the promotions box.
Right.
Like, so it doesn't matter, like number of touches, throw it out the window.
Yeah.
Completely gets crushed by that change that Google just made.
Yeah.
And of course they're making it because I'm here sitting here, like giving them way too much airtime for this, because it's at the top of my inbox and I don't want it to be, right? And they know they're basically starting to create a social media like experience inside of your inbox. Just think about that.
Yeah.
And now that you have things like prospecting agents, like AI agents being able to set this stuff, there's a way to do it well and a way to do it terribly. And when you can if you know that's the game you have to play now, not number of touches, but relevance and timing.
Yeah.
AI can help you do that.
Right.
Right.
That's what a lot of HubSpot's announced tools and features are trying to do. So I saw some of the demos of the marketing tools that have been released, and it's really minute things like the time that it's sent. And again, I don't know how much the Google updates will impact this, but deciding that this person opens their emails most often between the hours of 9 and 10 a.m. So send them an email between 9 and 10 a.m. That's a feature that HubSpot has now, and also was a vendor at Inbound. We'll see how those two battle it out. But there's also like AI generated modules inside of your HubSpot marketing emails, so you can give it something to go off of. I haven't played with it, so I don't really know how it all comes together. But if you're giving it a prompt, how much context can you give that prompt to make it relevant when it hits a Gmail inbox? And how, what tools does that feature have on the other side to go gather that information so that you're connecting the dots all the way through the user journey or the customer journey?
Yeah. And that's where it'll be a massive difference in the value of those modules. If you're prompting it to try and create conversion and performance data,
right,
versus long-term branding. Here we are back to how you started, right? Like, that's going to be vastly different as far as success, because it will, I mean, I can't wait for the case studies and use cases that come out around that.
Yeah.
Because it literally, if you tell it to make it conversion focused, it's going to be stuck. Like, I don't know how to make this thing relevant or timely, because this is my instruction, is to try and get people to convert on something they've never seen before.
Yeah, it's like we're finally getting closer to, you have sort of two sides. I visualize this as two sides. You have the push side and the receiving side. The push side is every brand trying to get you to sign up for their webinar. And maybe it is relevant. It probably is relevant. You got that idea from somewhere, and there are potential customers out there who are interested in what you're trying to say. And so now this receiving side is like DNA or something, where they're going to try to find the best match. And then magic happens, because the people who need to receive your message, because that's a relevant project for them, and it's something they're working on and they want to consume that information, are getting served up the content that is going to be worth it for them. And maybe you get 5 people on your webinar instead of 500, but those 5 people might all convert into deals, because you're finding that magical moment where it all aligns, and you have your most primed buyers who are listening to the best content for them at that stage, and it all just works all of a sudden. But you're right, in the prompting of that pushed message, you have to give it enough context to say, this is what we're working on, describe the type of value and the information that an attendee is going to get out of this, so that it can find the most relevant inboxes to show up in. I can't wait for that to be reality. I think we're close. We've got the tools. We just have to do it right instead of pushing performance metrics.
Yeah. And I look forward to AI being in a place where it's like, here's all the unstructured data that's in your portal that's countering what you're saying to me right now.
Yeah.
Like, so no, I'm not going to have the hook. I'm not going to create a hook or like a specific, would you like to book at this time or this time? Like all this traditional stuff of what we're supposed to do to try and create, try to prey on how human brains work, right? There's a reason it's worked, right?
Right.
But it's always in the interest of the business and not generally in the interest of the customer.
Yeah.
I was worried that we weren't going to have much to talk about. Keep going with the series. I'm not worried. Like, there's so much to dig into here.
More.
We are at time today. So we'll be back next week to continue this journey of digging into measurement and maybe talking about some specific behaviors or KPIs we can start to transition away from, and maybe give you some tools and tips to like create that bridge in your organization to try and move away from this, because it's of paramount importance right now.
Yeah.
Seeing evidence all over the place, and we want to help you understand how to take that value first approach. So until next time, thanks so much, Danielle.
Thank you. See you next week.
Have a great day, everybody.